The uncomfortable truth we bow, we chant, we light incense, we place flowers at statues of a man who said nothing should be clung to, not even him. So, what happened? How did the man who rejected all authority become an object of worship? How did don't follow anyone blindly turn into ritualized devotion? The Buddha was not a god, and yet we treat him like one. Let's go back to before the statues, before the temples, before the golden images. Let's return to the silence he left behind, the original prohibition. Did you know that for almost 500 years there were no images of the Buddha? In early Buddhist art, he is shown only as an empty throne, a pair of footprints, a Bodhi tree, a wheel of Dharma turning on its own. Why? Because the early Sangha believed depicting the Buddha would lead to attachment, not awakening. He didn't want to be a symbol. He wanted you to look within, but we didn't. We looked at his image instead. The birth of the image and the death of the silence. Something changed. Centuries after his death, under Greco-Bactrian influence, the first statues appeared in Gandhara, beautiful, noble, divine. The Buddha began to look like a Hindu god, complete with halo, upright posture, celestial robe. Why? Political influence, cross-cultural pressure, human hunger for form. We couldn't handle a teaching without a person, so we made a person to fit the teaching, and worship returned under a new name, worship as psychological need. Let's be honest, sometimes we don't want truth. We want security, a father figure, a perfect one who knows, who sees, who guides, and the Buddha, so silent, so calm, so distant from anger, became the perfect screen to project all of that onto. We replaced direct experience with ritual comfort. We traded the Dharma for candles and chants, the danger of sacred projection. When you worship the Buddha as a god, you make yourself small. You say, he is beyond me. I can't awaken. I must pray, beg, hope. That's not Buddhism. That's spiritual surrender to an image. And ironically, it's the exact opposite of what the Buddha taught. Be a lamp unto yourself. He didn't want to be your master. He wanted you to stand where he stood, not kneel where he died. Cliffhanger. Who are we really bowing to? So I ask you now, when you bow, are you bowing to the Buddha, or are you bowing to your idea of the Buddha? And what if that idea is more about your fear of freedom than about his path to it? The rise of cosmic Buddhas. Early Buddhism portrayed the Buddha as a human, a seeker, a teacher, but Mahayana changed everything. Now there wasn't just Gautama, there was Amitabha, the Buddha of infinite light. There was Vairocana, the cosmic Buddha embodying the whole universe. There was Medicine Buddha, Diamond Buddha, Buddhas of 10 directions. The Buddha stopped being a man. He became a metaphysical principle. What does that transformation mean? Some say, this is just skillful means. People need symbols. They can't all meditate in caves. Maybe, but the danger is this. You start to pray instead of practice. You believe that salvation comes from beyond, not within. You create a hierarchy and put the Buddha on a throne you can never reach. Suddenly, you're not a student. You're a servant, or worse, a believer. And belief is not liberation. When devotion becomes dependency, let's look at Pure Land Buddhism. Beautiful teachings, profound devotion. But you chant the name of Amitabha to be reborn in a heavenly realm where enlightenment is guaranteed. Sounds like grace, sounds like heaven, sounds like religion, not Buddhism. The Buddha didn't promise rescue. He promised a way, a practice, a path, a fire you had to walk through yourself. Vajrayana and the pantheon of Buddhas, Tibetan Buddhism offers even more. Wrathful Buddhas, peaceful Buddhas, Buddhas with animal heads, multi-armed, multi-eyed cosmic forms, each with mantras, rituals, initiations, empowerments. Some say it's all symbolic, and maybe it is. But here's the question. If you can't tell the difference between symbol and deity anymore, then haven't you already started worshipping the Buddha or our hunger for something bigger? Why did we do this? Why did we turn a quiet man into a cosmic being? Because we are afraid of silence, afraid of responsibility, afraid of walking alone. So we created a Buddha to save us, a heaven to wait for us, a shortcut to comfort us. But the truth, the Buddha didn't promise shortcuts. He promised the end of illusions, even the illusion of himself. Cliffhanger, when faith replaces fire. So now I ask you, when did we stop walking the path and start singing to statues? When did fire become fragrance, discipline become decoration? And most of all, what would the Buddha say if he walked into one of his own temples today? What you see in today's temples, walk into most Buddhist temples today, what do you find? Towering statues, bowing devotees, incense, smoke rising in rhythm, monks chanting in ancient languages, tourists snapping photos, donation boxes filled with folded prayers. It's beautiful, peaceful, serene, but is it awakening or is it just atmosphere, ritual without realization? The Buddha taught meditation, mindfulness, insight, freedom from self, but in many temples, you're more likely to light a candle, leave an offering, walk around a stupa, repeat mantras you don't understand. Is this respect or replacement? Are we honoring the path or avoiding it? Are we meditating or performing? Can ritual support awakening? Let's be fair. Ritual isn't inherently wrong. It can create stillness, it can open the heart, it can ground the mind, but only if it's used as a tool, not a crutch. If you think the act is the awakening, you've already missed the point. Ritual without awareness is just habit in sacred costume. The danger of outsourcing your practice if you light incense but don't watch your breath, if you chant but don't examine your mind, if you bow but never bow to your own delusion, then you're outsourcing awakening to form instead of looking at truth. And here's the paradox: the more sacred the ritual feels, the easier it is to mistake it for realization. Did the Buddha want statues destroyed? Some radical reformers say, tear it all down, destroy the idols, burn the robes, return to silence. But that's just another form of attachment to purity. The Buddha didn't say, kill the form. He said, see through it. The statue isn't the problem. Your clinging to it is. The ritual isn't the obstacle. Your belief it replaces practice is. Cliffhanger. What happens when we look through the image? So maybe the statue stays. But now, when you look at it, you don't see a God. You don't see a savior. You don't even see a man. You see the silence between thoughts, the stillness that doesn't move, the presence that asks nothing and offers everything. And then maybe you don't need the statue anymore. I met a man who worshipped the Buddha. He had a whole room for it, a gold statue, a bell, daily offerings, meticulous rituals. I asked him, do you meditate? He said, no, the Buddha sees all. I just give thanks. He didn't want awakening. He wanted comfort. He wanted to believe someone was watching, someone was judging kindly, someone was in charge. He didn't find truth. He found a father he never had. When spirituality becomes self-escape, let's be honest, we all want to escape something, our failures, our pain, our confusion, our past. So we bow more, chant louder, build altars, call it devotion. But it's not. It's avoidance in sacred form. You don't want to meet yourself. So you cover the mirror with incense smoke. Religious narcissism. There's a hidden danger in worship. I'm not enlightened, but look how devoted I am. I'm not free, but look how sacred my space is. I still suffer, but I have the Buddha on my side. This is not humility. This is ego with a halo. You turn the path into a personality. You use the Buddha as an accessory, and the Dharma becomes a costume you wear instead of a truth you live. The Buddha doesn't need your praise. He didn't ask to be worshipped. He didn't need your chants. He didn't want your flowers. He wanted your awakening. Every time you bow, ask, am I humbling the ego or reinforcing it? Every time you praise the Buddha, ask, am I connecting to his silence or hiding behind his name? Every time you invoke his presence, ask, am I really meeting truth or just avoiding myself? Why love is greater than belief. The Buddha didn't want followers. He wanted free beings, not people who repeat his name, but people who realize his insight. And real insight doesn't worship, it walks beside, it listens, it stays silent when there's nothing to say. You don't need to worship the Buddha, you need to become empty like him. Then, and only then, will you see what he actually was: a mirror, a moment, a fire that asks nothing but everything. Cliffhanger: can you let go of the Buddha? So now I ask, can you burn the altar without losing the teaching? Can you drop the name without forgetting the path? Can you let the Buddha go and still walk with him? Write your questions in the comments. You give me a like and a follow, I'll give you an answer. The secular Buddha of the West, in the West, we don't like religion. So we changed the Buddha. Now he's a therapist, a productivity coach, a calm, smiling figurine on your bookshelf. We say, it's not spiritual, it's scientific. It's not religion, it's mindfulness. But look closer. You've just replaced worship with branding. You didn't let go of the icon. You just gave it new clothes. The Buddha as lifestyle accessory. Open Instagram. You'll find golden Buddhas in yoga studios, hashtags like Char Zen mode, Char Buddha vibes, people meditating in expensive retreats, taking selfies by the altar. This isn't the Dharma, it's spiritual consumerism. You don't follow the path, you perform it, curated, edited, branded. You wear the Buddha like a necklace, not a wound. Western meditation as controlled worship. Even in serious communities, we still cling. We cling to the calm voice of the teacher, the silence of the hall, the rituals of the retreat. We say we don't worship, but we follow techniques blindly. We memorize teachings like scripture. We quote teachers with reverence. Is this still Buddhism, or just a more acceptable form of submission? Belief without belief. Some of us say, I don't believe in anything, I just practice. But then we act as if the cushion has power, the bell has meaning, the meditation app is sacred. We've created rituals without gods, but the same mind that clings to certainty, the same fear of facing the unknown. Even atheists bow. They just bow to silence, routine, or science. Is there a way to honor without idolizing? Yes, but it's razor thin. You can sit with the statue and not kneel to it, chant the mantra without losing the meaning, wear a mala without hiding behind it, but it takes brutal honesty. You must ask, is this helping me wake up or helping me pretend I already have? Cliffhanger. What happens when you stop bowing? So now I ask, what if you stop bowing? What if you stop chanting? What if you stop treating the Buddha like someone separate from your own mind? What's left? Silence, stillness, responsibility, and maybe real freedom. The Buddha and the state. Let's talk politics. In ancient India, kings aligned themselves with Buddhism. Why? Because the Buddha offered more than peace. He offered order. If the Sangha was respected, so was the king who supported it. Temples were built, donations flowed, the robe became sacred. The Buddha became a symbol of state legitimacy. When authority wears robes, later in Tibet and Southeast Asia, Buddhist monks became government figures. Lamas ruled provinces, senior monks influenced elections, monasteries collected taxes, and suddenly, questioning a monk was heresy. Criticizing the Dharma was rebellion. Skepticism became sin. The Buddha's image was weaponized to silence, to shame, to control. The creation of living Buddhas. Let's be blunt. Some Buddhist cultures began to declare, this person is a Buddha. This child is the reincarnation. This master is beyond questioning. It sounds spiritual, but it's just theocracy. When humans are declared divine, abuse hides behind robes, truth dies in silence, and the Buddha becomes an excuse for submission. The cost of sacred authority. Ask the hard questions. How many scandals have been buried under chants? How many abuses were ignored in the name of karma? How many seekers were told to shut up and bow? When power wears a halo, you stop asking if it's corrupt. You just assume it must be pure. And that is exactly how people become trapped in cults. What the Buddha actually taught about authority. Ironically, the historical Buddha said, Do not believe anything simply because it is said by a teacher. Test it in your own experience. He warned, even if I say something, examine it like gold in fire. But today, question a teacher, and you're called arrogant. Question a lineage, and you're shunned. Question a lama, and you're cursed. This isn't Buddhism. It's obedience dressed in Dharma robes. Cliffhanger, can you free the Buddha from your need for control? So I ask, do you follow the Buddha or the men who speak in his name? Do you bow out of love or out of fear? Is your faith a fire or a leash? What if we stopped worshiping but didn't stop honoring? Is there a way to love the Buddha, to walk his path, to feel his presence without turning him into a god? VHS. Yes, but it requires a new posture, not of the body, of the mind. It means not bowing to the Buddha, but with him, not chanting at his name, but listening through it, not seeing him above you, but beside you, Buddha as mirror, not master. What if every statue of the Buddha was just a mirror to show how still you are, how silent your mind is, how open your heart has become? The statue smiles. But the question is, do you? He's not judging, he's reflecting. And if you bow, bow not to him, but to your own potential. Devotion as deep intimacy, not obedience. Real devotion isn't about obedience. It's about intimacy. It's not, I obey you because I'm small. It's, I walk with you because I see your truth in myself. The Buddha's greatest teaching was not his words, but his being, his calm, his presence, his radical freedom. If that lives in you, you've honored him more than 10,000 bows ever could. The invisible Buddha. Maybe one day there will be no statues, just silence, no chanting, just stillness, no temples, just breathe. And in that moment, the Buddha will finally live again, not on a pedestal, but in your spine, in your gaze, in your choices. Practical practice, how to honor without worship. Try this. Meditate without a statue. Speak his name only in practice, not in praise. Read his teachings, but forget them during silence. See every person as your teacher, not just the Buddha, and ask yourself every day, am I practicing to awaken or to be seen as someone who follows the Buddha? Because one leads to freedom, the other to another illusion. Cliffhanger, can you love and still let go? So now I ask, can you hold the Buddha in your heart and not your hands? Can you let his image dissolve and still feel his truth? Can you walk the path without needing a guide in robes? A man who woke up, let's return to the beginning. Not the temples, not the chants, not the robes, but the forest. A man alone, under a tree, breathing, seeing, being. He wasn't a god. He wasn't a savior. He was just awake. He never wanted to be worshipped. He said, be a light unto yourself. Don't cling even to my teachings. If you see the Buddha on the road, kill him. He didn't want followers. He wanted flames, people burning with truth. But we were afraid. So we built temples. We made statues. We turned him into everything except what he was, a mirror, a path, a silence, the tragedy of turning truth into tradition. The Buddha was a revolution, but now he's a ritual, a routine, a relic. We polished the mirror until we forgot to look into it. We bowed to the form and lost the fire. We turned awakening into belief and belief into obedience. And now we call that Buddhism. But the fire is still here, and yet something remains. In every breath, in every moment of stillness, in every time you choose presence over distraction, honesty over comfort, silence over noise, the Buddha is here, not as a statue, but as a possibility. You don't need to bow, you need to burn. You are the continuation. Maybe you are the continuation of the Buddha. When you sit without seeking, when you listen without judging, when you walk without needing to arrive, then there is no separation. There is no worshiper, no worshipped, only presence, only the path, only now. So I leave you with this. If you need the statue, use it. If you need the chant, repeat it. If you need the teacher, listen, but never forget. The Buddha is not in front of you. He is within you. And when you stop needing him to be more than a man, you might finally understand why he was more than a god.